It's so amazing to have all of you come tonight. And I am just so honored because I get to be here with the one and only Mona May. So before she comes out exactly, I just want to say a couple things. So when you think about costume design, you think of, bodices or fantasy, and these are all the things that seem to win a lot of awards. But the thing that Mona has done is she's won our hearts. This movie is 30 years old, and the impact, it just hasn't faded. And it's a testament to her and her amazing design. So I'm so honored to have Mona here.
Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here. It's just always such a treat to see the movie. And, I just love seeing each one of you just enjoying it.
So I think that Mona actually brings a quality to all of her work. And she's done a lot of comedy, but she brings this kind of universal quality of joie de vivre, of color. And she has a sense of fashion, but it's really interesting because it's not a sense of fashion that's alienating. It's a sense of fashion that everybody wants to be a part of. And Mona, where were you born?
I was born in Calcutta, India.
So Mona was literally born into color, and she took it with her everywhere. So, and then where did you live afterwards?
At 3 years old, I moved to Poland. Warsaw.
And it was communist.
Dark gray. Not very happy.
And then where?
And then from there I moved to Germany, Berlin.
And finally?
New York, and then Los Angeles.
And I love what you say about Los Angeles. How did you feel when you got here?
All these years being away from India and the colors and the sparkle light. I think when I got to LA, it was like I felt home again. It was really great.
So this is the movie that really brought you onto the scene. Is that correct?
Yes. That was, I think, my first studio picture, actually.
Which, it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Theodora and Bonnie and Clyde. Theodora Van Runkle burst on the scene, and, Bonnie and Clyde totally changed fashion. And so I just have to roll us back to 1995 and what was happening. And it was, what was happening in fashion?
Nothing. I mean, something, I guess, if you call grunge fashion.
Yeah. So when you came to do this film, and then it's definitely this high school story, and then you go, from what I understand, you go and you look at high schools and you think, well, I'm not going to do this. Talk to me about your relationship with Amy Heckerling and how the whole vision of this world happened.
Well, we did go scouting to high schools in LA and the Valley, and it was just miserable. I mean, everybody just wore baggy clothes, and you couldn't tell a girl from a boy. It was plaid shirt, giant t-shirts, baggy jeans, pretty much that's it. So it was not definitely a world you wanted to emulate. And Amy Heckerling, the brilliant genius that she is, writer and director, wrote this film. We actually met on a pilot previously. The pilot didn't get picked up, but we connected together and just fell in love with each other. The creativity was just like we were soul sisters. It was amazing. So when she wrote Clueless, she knew about my background, European background. She said, "You're the girl to do it. I really want this film to have a completely different look. And you're kind of being a little bit of an outsider can bring that to the picture." Meeting Amy Heckerling was really changed my life. In a way, because when you met a collaborator that it's just things like you and sees things like you and loves color like you do.
But she really trusted you, because at this point, if you were doing a high school film, that would be to do an innocent twist on high fashion. I just can't even imagine how that sales pitch would go. And
it was not even a sales pitch.
I know she was totally on board.
Well, it was written in a script. So I think that's what's so important as costume designers. Script is everything, and then you talk to the director and, hear Amy's vision. It's like, she really wanted this to elevate to a whole another level. She wanted the girls to be feminine and beautiful, and, there had to be color. And how do you create that? I mean, you have to create the whole entire world of high school and every kid in there.
And every kid is really distinctive. But I think we should actually note that Mona didn't have the world's biggest budget for this, because I know it looks like $1 million zillion, but how much did you really have?
I mean, as I really remember, $250,000, which is nothing. I mean, more in that time, but still, you guys. I mean, how do you get designers' clothes? And there was no machine of PR. I mean, that Alaya dress, I had to like figure out who speaks French. Can we call Paris, Alaya's office, figure out, can we ask for the dress? We didn't have the money. And then we had to kind of tell him it may get ruined because she has to go on the ground in it, but we got it. So it was really, the mother of invention really was the no budget in a sense, because I was able to go high and low and really, like Dion stuff came from thrift stores, and then we had some designer stuff, but it was mall, it was thrift store. So it was like the first.
It was high and low. That was the first time.
I think so. I think people really didn't dress that way, in the 90s. I think it was high fashion, grunge, thrift store. Maybe, there were girls running around in 40s clothes, or granny dresses with, cowboy boots or army boots, and nobody really brought that like that.
I think it's really easy with comedy to discount the power of the costume design, but Kim Kardashian and her daughter just dressed up last Halloween as these two characters, and so this isn't just with Clueless. I would say with all of your films, there's something about them that people want to be a part of it. It's not the kind of costume design that you look at and you go, oh, that's so nice. It's so over there. Your personality, what you bring, it just pulls people in and they want to be a part of it. And I think that power, is something that we really have to take note of as people who appreciate costume design, because it's not the first thing you think of when you think of value. But if you think of the lasting value, I mean, Mona didn't set out to make an icon, but she sure did, and this isn't the only icon that she's made in terms of her whole career. And it's just kind of the way that you go about it. I would love to talk about specifically the difference in the characters, how you distinguished between them.
The important part is to talk about, how this whole thing came about, where, what is the idea? So it is the runway shows, right? Cher, Dion, they could go to the runway shows with their credit card and buy whatever they want. So that was the idea. They have money, but they are high school girls, right? So we wanted to make sure that it all is authentic. So again, you talk about the characters, costume design. It's about the real people. So how do you take these high fashion items and how do you then put them on these young girls?
You know what I love, actually? I love that there's like the innocence that you brought to the high fashion. I felt like that made it so authentic. And it wasn't that the characters, they wore the fashion for themselves.
Yes.
And not so much to be looked at. And I think that's something that's like really contagious.
Yes. And I think, Amy really wanted to be very innocent, very feminine, very beautiful. And, there's some little throwback to Emma. I mean, it is based on Emma.
The Jane Austen book.
Jane Austen. Yes. So, the cup sleeves, the little empire dresses, all that kind of very simple, but feminine stuff. But I had to take the high fashion and really translate it into the high school. They needed to be young girls wearing these clothes and not snooty models running around on high heels. You wouldn't really believe those girls. You wouldn't like them. So, that's why we took the fashion and then made it girly, Mary Jane's, even though you have a little over the knee stocking, right? But then you take it down. There is no low cuts, if you see in the movie. There is nothing really provocative about the clothes. There's maybe, the underwear Calvin Klein dress, but she did put a sheer cover over it.
With each character, and so I see this in all of Mona's films, you're so casual about it, but it's really about world building, because every single character, if you look in the classroom, every single person is completely distinctive, and you have your own journey for each of those characters. I've seen this film so many times now.
I mean, I'm a maniac, you guys. I mean, I really truly dress everybody, especially for pictures like this. You have to, I think that if I had the top characters dressed super fabulous and fly, and then the extras would come in their grunge, you would be like, what is that? look, where do they come from? This is the whole entire world, the color palette. You know, I work very closely with color palettes in my films, and I think that's also recognizable. You know, something that when you look at Romeo and Michelle, Wedding Singer, Night at the Roxbury, Enchanted, you know, even Stuart Little, his little clothes were super monome bright, you know. So there's some signature, I think. And
oh, I definitely think that color is one of your signatures. I mean, don't you say that color is energy? Is that
yes,
your
I mean, color is
quote?
total energy. I mean, it's if you think of the yellow suit, you know, there was such a great story about that suit because we wanted to do something first day of school, of course, you know, pleated skirt, you know, it's kind of like Catholic girl school uniform gone wild on Cher, you know, high fashion. So it was plaid suits. So I went shopping and I looked at some red suits, red plaid. I found a really beautiful blue one. I was like, oh, it's going to be so pretty on her. And then I found the yellow. It was a Jean Paul Gaultier Jr. line. I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to splurge on this. Yes, we must have this. May just work. So we tried the red and it was really beautiful, kind of too Christmassy. The blue, which I thought would be the 100% winner, was kind of like cute. All right. And then she put the yellow one on and the energy of her in it. And it was like a ray of sunshine, truly. And it was so important because the first day we see her in the south, she's in a quad, so a lot of green. We have a lot of people crossing. And this was it. So it was really, truly, she was like the sunshine in, you know, in her own environment, in her universe.
It's so impactful. And, you know, I have to say, I can't look at a chrome yellow plaid without thinking of that suit ever. So let's talk about some of your other films as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so there's that through line that you bring. But let's talk a little bit about your like vision for the world and your kind of your joie de vivre. Why is that so important to you?
I mean, I think as we artists, we express ourselves, you know, and I think our deepest kind of desires and who we are, our soul, it has to be in the art somehow. You know, I think that's how we create. I think each one of you has its own vision. And, you know, if each one of you did Clueless, it would be different, you know, so this is my Clueless. This is kind of my point of view of the world. I mean, I love flowers. I love humans. I love animals. You know, I love just being happy.
You love life.
I love life.
And so,
yeah.
But don't you feel that that's so contagious? I mean, if you think of any Mona May film, maybe not 8mm, that's
a little dark.
but if you think of any other one, that it just kind of jumps off the screen and you take it home with you, that kind of ebullience that you embed in your design.
It's also about very authentic characters. You know, I think it's really making these girls real, making them that you can understand who they are. I mean, what's amazing about costume design, I think, is when you really think of an actor coming on the screen, they don't have to say a word. You know who they are in 30 seconds by the clothes they wear, you know. And I think this is so important when we design, when we create these characters. We have to give them life, you know. We have to give them soul. We have to really give them that when the people watching, they want to be them. They want to emulate them, or they feel they are them, or they feel they can going through the journey. And I think that's the through line as well. I think in my films that I work really hard to find what that is in each character, you know. And I'm like a lioness. I want to make sure that through the whole film, we see them through the same way and through the journeys. You know, if you look at Never Been Kissed, you know, I love that movie because you really see the journey that Drew Barrymore goes through, you know, but it's always her from the beginning, really ugly, to this kind of crazy outfits in high school with the white boa, you know, and then she actually finds herself and she becomes this beautiful young lady, you know, in a pink chiffon dress. It's her now. And I think those are the stories that I love to tell. I think the empowering female stories, you know, I think that is so important to me. I am so happy that I get to do it, that for so many young women here, you know, a couple people came to me tonight and said, you know, you changed my life. I wanted to be a designer. I'm an artist. This was something that touched me so deeply.
I love that. I mean, if you think of Enchanted, if you think of every single character is really very distinctive. And you just carry it with you. They kind of become so memorable. But I think because sometimes your work is so approachable, it's easy to kind of not think about all of the different layers, like something like Enchanted, where, I mean, talk about the process of how you had to go from.
Oh my God, Enchanted was so cool to design because it was 2D animation. So first we had to design the costumes with the animators, Disney animators. drawings of princesses and princes. And then I had to translate my designs from 2D to live action. So then they explode, like the big wedding dress with the butterflies and huge sleeves and, everything else. And then in the instance of the evil Queen Narissa, played by Susan Sarandon, she went from 2D live action character and CGI dragon. So I had to have a through line of all the costumes and all the different mediums, those are kind of the jobs that you love as a designer, that you have 7 months of prep,
Well, it's amazing to see that translation. And then when you watch the film, you're just so involved with it that you don't feel, it doesn't have any feeling of effort. So you don't think about, the miles and miles of yards that went into the skirt, into those sleeves, and then it had it all stuffed down into that manhole.
Oh my God. That was another dress, just a mini dress for the manhole. It was.
But and this is so, I think, with all your characters, what you mentioned, Drew, and you've had lovely relationships with your stars, and you've worked with many of them several times. Talk about that collaboration.
Well, I think that as designers, we have to create trust. I think that we really, when they come to our room and they are sometimes almost naked, this is the most vulnerable time, I think, for an actor or any human, I think, to really, be that open. And that's the journey that we have to take with them. And we have to play with them. And we have to really create this character with their involvement and who they are. So it's not only my soul, it's not only the director's soul, but it's also the actor's soul, and I think that's what makes it for a really amazing character, when it all works together and you're supporting them. So you're creating something that they feel absolutely 100% that character. That's kind of our job, when they walk on the set and they feel 100%, we did our job. They all for the director.
But isn't it so amazing that you had Drew so young for that? And then you had her again in Santa Clarita Diet, which is just such a completely different world, different character, different thing. And yet, we were all so involved in those clothes and her.
It's fun. It was, really fun to come back with someone after so many years. She had the kids, and she was so innocent. Actually, Never Been Kissed was the first film she produced for Flower Films for her company. And she actually wrote me a letter to ask me to do it after Wedding Singer. So it was such a great opportunity and fun. And, seeing her later, and I think she hired me because she had the trust. She just had the babies. That was kind of coming back from her hiatus of, making movies. And I was there for her. She knew that whatever I'll put her in, it's going to be good. She doesn't have to worry.
So you, in addition to comedy, Mona does do other things. You did do, 8mm.
Yes. Which was a cool experience, because, all of you, I'm sure, as artists, it's like you get put into a little drawer. She's the comedy girl, she does the pink boas. So the experience of being hired by Joel Schumacher to do 8mm was really kind of.
Joel Schumacher was a costume designer. So,
yes.
It was like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really great because he recognized my talent and looked beyond the pink, in a sense. And it was really great to have the opportunity to show your chops in a way, in a whole another darker state of being.
But you're very experimental. And that's why I was going to say about Stuart Little. That was one of the first films that was done that way. And then talk about making those little.
Oh my God, you guys, he has the worst body as an actor. So 4 inches tall, no neck, big belly, short legs, ears, and a tail. And I didn't make any clothes in real. It all was all digital, which was really cool. So it was, doing a lot of sketches with fabulous Felipe Sanchez, thousands of sketches that we did. And, each outfit cost about $600,000 to make in CG. So we had to have 10, 11 signatures for each outfit, and we had to kind of reuse the patterns of a t-shirt. And that became a shirt or a sweater. And then the pants changed textures and from jeans to cargos. So that's how we saved money. But it was super fun. I had to tailor his clothes digitally, to make him look human. And the director gave me the biggest challenge. He said, I want him to look like he shops at the Gap. I was like, oh my God. But we did it. He's so cute.
And he's like all your other characters, really beloved.
I know. Adorable.
So there's something about the coming of age story, like that sweet, truthful, and maybe there's some power there because you were able to kind of visualize in so many different films the experience of men and women, coming of age in a way that really made sense to them. And so like, that's kind of like my opinion about how it kind of resonates. Does it surprise you after this
Yes,
time?
but it does that. It has this kind of shelf life, I think. But again, I think that when I design, I really dive into kind of the psyche and psychology and who their soul is. That's what I'm interested in. And I think when you can find that, then it resonates. And I think it really brings something where each one of you can relate and find like, oh, I feel that way. And, it's subtle, but so important. And I think the innocence too, how kind of you can find that innocence, maybe not in murderers, but, in the comedies, especially, and I think female driven comedies, it's so important. I think it's, throughout my career, it's been very important to support women, and I think to bring them authenticness to who they are so women can feel good in their skin. I think it's very important. And, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, and now, I think that there's some kind of empowerment, to who we are, so we can show our source, curves and be feminine and pretty. And I think the impact of Clueless was so interesting at the time when it came out, because I think the culture was ready for that, and I think it was like that moment that it hit, where the grunge was over, and then now here we are, here are the cute girls, and it's like, yes. And, it just blew up. I mean, it was amazing. Nobody really thought about this when we made the movie, that we'll ever have this kind of, we were just doing a movie. I mean, not a big movie, $25 million movie at Paramount, shooting in LA, great cast, great director, a lot of work, but, we were just having fun. And you guys, I mean, Alicia Silverstone had 60 changes. So it was crazy. I mean, seriously, we ended up like having to make a mannequin because she couldn't even come to all the fittings. And, it was insane. I mean, how many people dress? I should really count, like how many people in the quad and how many people in the classrooms.
No,
and how many people in the,
it was huge.
I mean, yeah, but so much fun. I mean, how about the Thai makeover? Okay, that was just so much fun to do. And Brittany Murphy, rest in peace, was an amazing human being, and she really was such a refreshing spirit and so talented and beautiful, and she was game for anything. It was so fun. We really loved her very much. Everybody really misses her.
So I know that there are questions, so I just want to open it up for questions.
Okay. My name is Jera Leah Lee. I'm from Torrance, California, and so my question was, well, first I want to say House Bunny is one of my favorite movies of all
yay.
time. So hashtag work.
Thank you.
But my question was, in the scene when she was doing her driver's test and then she was going shopping and then she realized that she loved Josh. I know in the beginning she couldn't find her shirt, but I wanted to ask you what the significance of the outfit that she wore during that scene like meant to you.
Well, it was a design choice because we knew that she's going to be kind of depressed and trying to figure out what's happening, why she's so unhappy. And also she had to look really good for the driving test. But I think emotionally what was really important, I think it was grayer, which we didn't see a lot of gray. And also the materials were very soft. It was a chiffon blouse. So that was also something that like it showed that her shell is breaking in some sense, so there's softness to it, see-throughness almost, like flowiness to it. And that was really important. So there were kind of, all the undertones, and all the clothes are always, little subtle psychological messages.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. I love her outfit, by the way. Fabulous.
Hi, Mona.
Hi.
My name is Elif Fatima. I'm from Istanbul. And my question is just, so first of all, this film has inspired me since forever, since the longest time. And I have a question about the accessories, like the process of kind of creating the accessories for a scene, for a character. Like, do you kind of build the outfit first and then accessories come later? Or do you kind of ever build an outfit based on an accessory that you really love? Because there's so much layering in this film. Like there's the jackets and the vest and like, and then one scene, Cher is wearing these bees on her ears that I thought was so cool, and like the flowers. So I was just curious how, like what your process looks like when you're kind of designing and crafting the accessory.
To me, it always starts with the outfit, because we have to, for 60 changes, we probably have to try 150 outfits or more, to really figure it out. And then I do a board, and then we put the outfits, and depending on where she is in the movie, Never Been Kissed or somewhere, you really have to see the changes or her character changes. And I think then the exercises would come, and then, what does the outfit need? Could it say in a scene? How important is, the bees or, so it's really a play, and sometimes I have to take a step back and maybe even clean it up. With Cher, I kept it very kind of clean, and Dion was so funky. I love her. It was so great to dress Stacey Dash because she was already a little older and she was sassy, and we could do the mini skirt and a lot of vinyl and kind of really push it. I shopped a lot on Melrose in the day in the 90s, and people remember Red Balls, right? Was that store, and all the rave stuff. So she was really fun, and she also brought a lot of the 50s, like her little purses. So there were thrift stores, the leopard coat was a thrift store. So that was really fun to mix her up, and she was a little bit more sassy and developed as the other girls. But I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank
it's
you,
always
Mona.
fun. I love, like if you remember Wedding Singer, Drew wore one necklace. So that's also kind of a choice, design choice. She was not a rich girl, and it was kind of, everything revolved around that necklace, and it was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Erica from Los Angeles.
Hello.
I was wondering, well, I guess it's a two-part question. How much prep did you have, and what did you decide to shop or thrift versus made to order?
I had very little preps, 8 weeks, normal
Oh.
kind of, there was, you guys know the big movie, and, do you think Paramount cared about clothes or even thought that this is going to be cool? It was just a whatever budget, that they just were, another movie. Okay, there's teens in there, So yeah, definitely everything was very tight. Budget, time. And I think we were just getting so much clothes that we just shopped everywhere. We didn't, every corner of the mall, every corner of a thrift store.
But it was the way that you put it together because nobody was putting it together like
so
that.
Then it became a really cool mix, and we were able to really have fun with it. But it's again, mother of invention sometimes is necessity. It's interesting. It's all kind of falls into place of how it all becomes, which is what I love to think of, like artistic process, and I think that's what's so cool. It's really like fluid, and movies are fluid because you have the director, you have the actors, you have everybody else, you have the script, how do you navigate? And then you have producers and studios making decisions and all of that.
Lots of producers.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, if you watch the little reel, that was so cool. I think the makeup artist said how this movie was so amazing because Amy made all the decisions right there. Are we going to wear the hat or not? There was no somebody saying, oh, we can't see her eyes. Don't put the hat on her. Because that's usually, the DP is screaming, we can't see the actor's eyes. And Amy was like, let's do hats. Let's have fun. And, I'm a big fan of hats. It's my signature. So it was so much fun to do the hats.
That was the perfect lead in because I was actually going to ask about hats.
My hat friend.
Hello, I'm Lauren. My question was actually like, we all know you love hats. I love hats. I was wondering how you decided in the movie, there's so many different hats. And just how did you decide from character to character which kind of hats you were going to have? And also specifically that fabulous black and white hat that Dion wears. I love. Where did it come from?
The hat came from New York City. This designer Cocken, who's still around, actually made the hat once I had the outfit prepped, and we discussed something really crazy, really high with the big, it was all kind of Chanel inspired, with the kind of Chanel patent leather bow and the flower. And he did an amazing job. We worked on it. We didn't have, again, not a lot of money and a lot of time. And he came through a lot of stuff. But in the process of really the fittings, that's where we come and bring the hats. So this outfit, we have all the hats lined up, on a big table. It's like, oh, that goes with the, that one with the swirl I love. It's almost like a felt hat. And I love berets myself. And I think that was so fun to also use berets throughout the film. I think they are timeless. Bonnie and Clyde, to this day, it's such a fabulous accessory. I think that, I watched this film again tonight for the thousandth of time, and I feel so good when I watch it because it's so interesting to see so many of the outfits are so cool still now. I was looking at this little leather mini skirt that's A-line with a little sheer blouse, and then she puts the leather. I'm like, That could be at Barney's. Oh, wait, Barney's closed, but whatever. Let's see, Neiman's or somewhere cool. I mean, it's just, and I think it's something we touched upon earlier. It's kind of that global point of view that maybe I had before the global point of view was coined, that I was able to kind of see this film fashion from like a broader perspective of worldly fashion and something that is timeless. And, the twin sets, the A-line skirts, the plaid, the eyelet top. I mean, the plaid coat with the matching skirt, stuff that are really truly timeless and I think really good for female bodies, and that was also very important, that everything we kind of presented, every clothing we even bought at the 99 cents thrift store was fitted, so everything was tailored. So it looks couture because it was made to fit each one of our bodies perfectly. It's a big task. I mean, I think that, what you're talking too about, like the time that I put into it, it also shows. I mean, how many people I dress. I don't just phone it in. I'm there, I'm on set, I'm dressing extras. I mean, I look at the camera and what's in the monitor, in the view, and I change extras and drive the ADs crazy because I'm like, no, that one, gotta put that one. It's too much pink or whatever color. So, it all matters to me. Like it's completely through to end. I don't have control over the editing, sadly. Chop, chop.
Hi, all. I'm Christine from Kind of All Over. Also, we think of Cher as being very, very colorful, but a lot of the most important moments she's in white. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So let's see, the ending kiss scene, driving,
the Calvin Klein
Calvin
driving,
Klein.
the black and white outfit. We do see her without the jacket, where it's
Okay.
so. Was that kismet or?
I think it was kismet. I think it was kismet. I mean, the white shirt for the driving was really something very specific. I mean, the Calvin Klein dress was really, that was not in a script. So this came when I was able to find the right thing for that right dialogue and for that right kind of feel. This is underwear. So what was there that I could get that was underwear? It was this, little strappy dress from Calvin Klein. And then, I made kind of the little joke with the sheer top coat. Oh, that, of course. I'm just putting in its sheer. It's like, it was really funny.
We actually talked about that moment in my grad program.
Oh, you did? Oh my God. It's so cool. I mean, I loved Amy, heckling. She was such a supportive director and it's so rare, I think, to have that where, I mean, encouraging me with the hats, encouraging me with the outfits, it really was like, being able to, for example, bring the Alaya dress to the table and say, this is what I found. Would you write that in a script? And she's like, absolutely. This is perfect. I mean, nobody knew about Alaya.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah. Very rare, I think. But you guys, Alaya, nobody knew who that was. And we brought it into the film and people were like, okay, now we know. Now, I mean, okay. I don't know if you remember, there was no cell phones really, I mean, the old ones, and no computer. So, I mean, I didn't have everything at the touch of a button telling me what I can do and how I can find it. There was no Amazon Prime. I mean, there was no big PR firms, truly. I mean, think of it. We had to get the big collezioni books. You remember those? And like, $80. It was like $80. Oh my God. It's a lot of money, but that's how we kind of looked at things and found things. And again, with Amy, it would be like bringing the same tear sheets into the meeting, and it's like, oh my God, I love you. I love you. So it's special.
I have a question. When did you know that it was like a classic? Like, when did you realize? Because I mean, I'm sure when you finished it and you went to the first screening, you were like, okay, that's really good. I'm done. But when was it like, did it dawn on you that it had like real lasting power?
I think when Vogue made a big article and when Karl Lagerfeld copied my water holders from the gym scenes on the runway, and when Women's Wear Daily wrote Hardly Clueless and just, had like a huge, I mean, Women's Wear Daily. Yeah, it was amazing. So I think and then just, I think the popularity of the film and just kind of how it's just went crazy all over the world, I mean, who knew? I mean, truly.
It's an amazing film. It's an amazing body of work, and you're still building on it. So that's the very best part of all. I can't wait to see kind of what you do next, always.
I'm always open, you guys, to play. So
we have another question.
One more question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously fashion and costume design, they have a lot of crossover, even though I feel like they are somewhat different, being such a fashion girl, how has fashion, obviously Clueless was very fashion based, but how does fashion actually influence your design, your costume design, and carry that through all of your projects?
Great question. I mean, I'm so lucky in a way because I started as a fashion designer. That's what I studied in Europe and in New York and here. And to do Clueless, my two loves, fashion and film and costume design, was truly like, amazing experience to showcase what I kind of knew about. And I think fashion is always in my soul. It's always in part of my process because feel like we all have to know what's going on, who is wearing what are the kids wearing, what's in the magazines, what's on the runways. You have to be open because you don't know what can inspire you for a character. And I think you want to be current. I think to me is very important when I design movies that it's something fresh. So you as the audience can always see something, oh, this is cool, I've never seen it, or I've seen this on the runways, or how does that, and again, it has to go through the script, it has to go through the character, it has to be authentic and real for that person. But I think it inspires me as I think all designers, I think, should really know what's going on, not that necessarily doing fashion films. It color influences you. What's the color? What's the Pantone number of this year? We should all know it. So it's very important, as well as script and character.
I want to add something about Mona and fashion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because I think that with fashion, there's something about the way that you digest fashion, that when you create a character that's fashionable, everybody wants to be that character. And the original fashion, they may not have even been interested in. So there's something about the way that you put it out there that makes it so likable, so interesting, makes the character, other people associate with the character. So, I think that's part of the power of these costumes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that, again, it's something that I push for in a sense. Not like, pulling a rock up, but kind of like creatively moving that and trying something else and having another fitting and maybe checking this out. And really, I think that symbiosis between the director and the actor and the costume designer, and kind of how do you navigate that as well, it's going on that journey is really, really important. I think sometimes as a designer, you can be like, I want this brown sweater, I think this is perfect for the scene. And it's sometimes really not really the right thing, but maybe something that's on the end of the rack that you just pick up at the last fitting moment is that thing, and it's so amazing how that you have to allow that in some way. So there's kind of magic in some way,
Well, costume design has an element of magic for sure.
So
thank you all for coming. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you bring your
thank you
joie de vivre with you.
Love you all, you guys. Stay creative. Have fun in life.